You're 24 years old, fresh out of college, and you just got a job offer. A salary, $250,000. Your friend at Google making $140K suddenly doesn't seem so smart. Welcome to Jane Street, where the average employee in their London office makes £521,000. That's about $650,000. But here's the thing, nobody tells you about these jobs. You're not some Wolf of Wall Street trader doing lines off a Bloomberg terminal. You're a software engineer who spends 40% of their time hunting bugs in C++ code that was written when Facebook was still called the Facebook. So what the hell are quant developers? Why do they make more than heart surgeons? And why is everyone pretending they understand what stochastic calculus means? Buckle up, we're diving into the best paid, understaffed, and misunderstood corner of tech. Let's start with the money, because that's why you clicked on this video. Jane Street, a trading firm you've probably never heard of, just grew their London headcount by 31% to 688 people. Their total compensation averages out to over £500,000 per person. Citadel Securities, Ken Griffin's trading arm, paid out $16 billion in profits in 2022 alone. These aren't venture-backed startups promising equity that might be worth something if they don't run out of runway. This is cold hard cash. First-year analysts straight out of undergrad are pulling $200 to $250K. The compensation is so aggressive that banks are literally poaching people with what the industry calls "Q money" offers. In 2023, traditional banks started bleeding senior engineers to trading firms because they simply couldn't match the cash offers. Stock options are cute and all, but when someone drops $500,000 in cash on the table, those RSUs start looking like monopoly money. And here's the beautiful irony. These firms are smaller than you think. Jane Street has about 3,000 employees globally. Renaissance Technologies, which runs the most successful hedge fund in history, with 66% annual returns, has about 300 people. Okay, so what do these people actually do to deserve your money? First, let's clear something up. Quant developers are not quant traders. They're not the ones making trading decisions or coming up with brilliant strategies to beat the market. That's the job of quantitative researchers, who are usually PhDs in physics or math who couldn't get tenure and decided making millions was an acceptable consolation prize. Quant developers are the mechanics in this Formula One race. A researcher comes to you with some mathematical model that supposedly prints money. Your job? Make it work, make it fast, make it not explode when real money is on the line. Here's what actually happens. Dr. Physics PT walks over with a napkin covered in equations and says, "I need this running in production by market open." You translate their academic MATLAB prototype into production C++ that can process millions of data points per second. You optimize it until it runs in microseconds instead of milliseconds, because in high-frequency trading, a millisecond might as well be a geological epoch. The reality is that 80% of your job is regular software engineering. You're writing unit tests, debugging race conditions. The other 20% is understanding just enough finance to know when the PhD's model is obviously broken. One quant dev admitted that 40% of his time is literally just hunting bugs, not designing revolutionary trading algorithms, not discovering market inefficiencies. Just good old-fashioned, why is this seg faulting debugging? So what exactly are you building in these roles? Imagine the most complex distributed system you've ever worked on. Now imagine it needs to process millions of market data updates per second, execute trades in microseconds, and never, ever go down during market hours. Oh, and if it fails, you lose millions of dollars per minute. These systems are processing data from hundreds of exchanges globally, each with their own protocols, data formats, and quirks. You're building order management systems that can handle sending thousands of orders per second while maintaining perfect bookkeeping. Risk systems that can calculate your exposure across thousands of positions in real time, and execution algorithms that can slice up large orders to minimize market impact. The technical requirements are insane. We're talking single-digit microsecond latency for critical paths. That means you're thinking about CPU cache lines, NUMA nodes, and whether your network card supports kernel bypass. You're writing custom memory allocators because malloc is too slow. You're using lock-free data structures because mutex contention would blow your latency budget. Getting one of these jobs is harder than getting into Harvard. Harvard accepts about 3% of applicants. Quant trading firms. They're looking at 2% or less, with some positions seeing 42 applicants per opening. And these aren't random bootcamp grads throwing resumes at the wall. These are people with perfect GPAs from MIT, winners of international math Olympiads, and engineers from FANG companies. The interview process is brutal. First, you'll get hit with programming questions that make LeetCode hard problems look like fizzbuzz. We're talking dynamic programming, advanced data structures, and bit manipulation tricks that you'll never use but somehow prove you're smart enough. Then comes the math. Hope you remember probability theory, because you're about to calculate expected values, derive black skulls from first principles, and explain why correlation doesn't imply causation using Bayes' theorem. One common question. You have a coin that flips heads 51% of the time. How do you bet to maximize profit? If you don't immediately think about Kelly criterion and optimal bet sizing, you're already out. But the real test is the practical scenarios. I give you 100 million to invest right now. What's your first trade? The right answer involves asking 20 clarifying questions about risk parameters, investment horizon, and market conditions. They want to see if you can think like a trader while coding like an engineer. The firms are so desperate for talent that they're getting creative. Jane Street runs programming competitions with prizes that would make hackathon sponsors weep. Citadel sends recruiters to international collegiate programming contest finals, like scouts at the NBA draft. Some firms are even hiring professional poker players because it turns out the skills transfer surprisingly well. Here's where things get spicy. There's a culture war between Silicon Valley and Wall Street that nobody talks about. Tech bros look at quant devs and see sellouts using their skills to make rich people richer. Quant devs look at tech bros and see naive idealists making half the money to serve more ads. The philosophical differences are real. In Silicon Valley, you open source your code, write blog posts about your architecture, and give talks at conferences. In quant finance, everything is proprietary. You can't even tell your spouse what you're working on. One developer mentioned he couldn't explain why he was stressed about work because even describing the problem would violate his NDA. The tech stacks are from different universes. While Silicon Valley argues about whether to use React or Vue for their next SaaS dashboard, quant firms are optimizing C++ templates that were written when MySpace was still relevant. They use languages like Q, yes, that's the entire name, that look like someone fell asleep on their keyboard. Python? Too slow for production. JavaScript? That's for the UI team. Rust? Maybe in 10 years when it's proven. These firms are still using C++ from 2003 because they've optimized their compilers to generate assembly that's faster than what modern compilers produce. The work culture is different too. Silicon Valley promises work-life balance, unlimited PTO, and ping-pong tables. Wall Street promises money. Just money. No ping-pong tables, no free lunch. Literally, you're buying your own. No bringing your whole self to work. You show up, you write code that makes money, you get paid, you leave. It's refreshingly transactional. Many quant devs prefer it this way. There's no pretense about changing the world or making information freely accessible. You're there to make money, everyone knows it, and nobody pretends otherwise. As one developer put it, at least I'm honest about being a mercenary. So where is all this heading? The future of quant development is getting weird. First, AI and machine learning are changing the game. Despite all the hype about AI replacing traders, most successful strategies are still relatively simple statistical arbitrage. The real use of AI, Man Group built an internal ChatGPT clone that 80% of their staff use for cleaning data and writing documentation. The most advanced AI in finance is being used to format CSV files. Some firms are getting creative with hiring. They're recruiting poker players, competitive gamers, and even chess grandmasters. Turns out the skills that make you good at StarCraft, rapid decision-making, resource optimization, handling incomplete information, transfer surprisingly well to trading. One firm hired a professional Magic the Gathering player who became one of their top traders within 2 years. Quantum computing keeps getting mentioned in breathless press releases, but it's still mostly vapor. Every major bank has a quantum research team that's basically 2 PhDs trying to figure out if quantum computers can price options faster. The real disruption might come from an unexpected place: regulation. After every market crash, regulators add new rules that make certain strategies impossible. The flash crash of 2010 led to circuit breakers. The GameStop saga led to payment for order flow scrutiny. Each time, quant developers have to rebuild their systems from scratch. But what value does any of this create? These brilliant engineers, who could be working on fusion reactors or curing cancer, are instead spending their careers shaving nanoseconds off trade execution times. The smartest people of our generation are thinking about how to make people click ads, or in this case, how to make rich people slightly richer, slightly faster. So there you have it. Quant developers, the highest paid programmers you've never heard of, writing code you'll never see, for systems you don't understand, making money in ways that might not be entirely ethical, but are definitely legal. They're not the Wolf of Wall Street stereotypes snorting coke off keyboards. They're more like extremely well-compensated plumbers, making sure the pipes of global finance don't explode. Sometimes that they do explode, and when that happens, someone loses $440 million in 30 minutes. Is it worth it? If you're brilliant at both math and coding, enjoy solving puzzles, and don't mind selling your soul for $500,000 a year, then maybe. But hey, at least they're honest about it. No, we're making the world a better place bullshit. Just cold, hard cash for cold, hard code. In a world full of startups pretending to be revolutionary while building the 15th food delivery app, there's something refreshingly honest about admitting you're just here for the money. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go practice leak code problems and brush up on my stochastic calculus. Those Jane Street recruiters aren't going to impress themselves.